I'm Bill Bishop, and welcome to another Big Idea Talk. Today I'm going to talk about what I call business entropy. Now, I don't know about you, but in high school, I wasn't that crazy about chemistry. That wasn't one of my favorite topics. I liked physics, I liked mathematics, but chemistry just didn't do it for me. So, it didn't end up becoming a Nobel Prize winning chemist, let's put it that way. But one of the things that I always remember from chemistry class was they talked about the laws of thermodynamics. And especially I remember the second one where they talked about entropy. Now, I'm not a chemist, so I'm not going to give you the scientific definition or anything here. But essentially, what I understand from entropy is that whenever you have a system that is organized in some way, like I think about my sock drawer, for example. Like every once in a while, especially during the pandemic, I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna organize my sock drawer again because I haven't got anything else to do. So I would get my sock drawer all organized, and I'd think of some system for doing it and so on, like by color or something, and get it all nice and tidy, right? And so it was all very organized. But it didn't take very long for that sock drawer system to devolve into just one big mess of socks, basically. Right? So and then it would be like at a certain point I go, do I want to reorganize that sock drawer again? And I thought, maybe it's not worth it. But then of course socks would go missing, and then I couldn't find the socks I wanted, and then I thought maybe I should organize my sock drawer again. But I always now started to learn that every time I would organize it, it would start to fall apart. So essentially, another way of thinking of entropy is that things fall apart. Basically, things fall apart. Now, this is really, as far as I was doing some reading about this, and, scientists say that you could have all kinds of debates about all kinds of things in science, but the one thing you can't debate is this law of entropy, that it's essentially how the universe works. So the thing is, because it's the way the universe works, it's also the way that business works. And so I thought, I started thinking about how interesting that was, and starting to think about my business and other people's businesses from the perspective of this idea of entropy, that essentially, at some point, maybe we get it to the point where our business is kind of like a really organized sock drawer. And then over time, it starts to kind of fall apart and get disorganized. And it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't do anything, your business will get increasingly more disorganized, and things can really fall apart. Now, the other thing that I figured out about entropy, which was helpful to me, is that, and reading the science of it, but not totally understanding every word, but getting the gist of it, is that you can fight against this entropy by putting energy of some kind into a system. So when I organize my sock drawer, I put energy into that, right? I spent time and effort on organizing the sock drawer, and maybe I would even buy some equipment, some sort of sock organizer system or something, and make an investment in that, and I would get my socks organized, right? So the point was that if you want to deal with entropy in your life and in your business, you have to inject energy into that system. So I'll go back to this picture again. So there's there's on the left, kind of, you got your business all tidy and everything's totally good. And then things start to fall apart. Now, one of the reasons why it falls apart is because there's outside influences. So, our business is not really a closed system, right? It's part of a larger economy, and that larger economy is constantly changing and falling apart and being reorganized and falling apart again. And no matter what we do, we're part of that. So therefore, there's a lot of outside influences that are trying to undermine our nice, tight, organized system. So that's why, like, for example, in my book, New Factory Thinker, I talk about the old factory and how the old factories are kind of falling apart, right? So we had the pandemic, this huge, global disorganizer, total shock to the system. Well, that really upset a lot of very organized businesses. There's a very well-run businesses there, and then suddenly, you have the this crazy pandemic happens, and then those businesses, in a lot of ways, fell apart. But of course, then people put a lot of energy into reorganizing themselves and getting back to maybe an even better place that than what they had before. So this is why I just think it's a very interesting concept to think about when you think about your business, that it gives a different kind of context. Because one of the things I always felt like, why is my business sort of keep getting disorganized? I got it all organized, and then over time it feels like, it just feels like it's falling apart. Did I do something wrong here? Was it something I did? Am I not running my business properly? And then because of this entropy thing, I started to feel I can actually, give myself a bit of a break, because it's just the way the universe works, right? Things fall apart. Now, that doesn't mean we just give up. That's not the point of this talk, actually. But the thing is that's actually what the heck's going on. It's like a law of the universe, right? It doesn't matter. It has got nothing to do with you. Now, the thing is then, how do I inject energy back into my company? Now, the first thing I'm going to say is, because of all the coaching I do, all the people I talk to, is that we don't really like this entropy thing. Even maybe we don't even know about it, but we don't like what's going on, right? We're like, you mean I have to keep reorganizing my business? I keep having to put energy into I keep investing in my business. You mean I have to do that? I thought it would just be good if I kind of got it all set up, and then it just kind of ran itself, and I didn't have to worry about anything. I got it all done. What do you think? So, when I come along and say, well, let's inject energy in your company by creating a new factory, a lot of people go, oh, God, really? I have to do that? I don't know. I don't really want to do that. I just want to take it easy now. But I keep trying to tell them, I say, if you just sit back and rest on your laurels, let's use that expression, everything's going to fall apart. Like, it just is. It's just, you can't sit on what you got and think that's it. But it's kind of a delusion or a pipe dream that we want that. So let's get past that one, okay? So let's just say I don't buy into that. I get it, right? So then the question is, well, how do I fight against this entropy then to keep my business vibrant and thriving? Well, one way we do it, of course, is by putting in work, like really hard work. And that's okay. Really hard work. That's kind of like the classic way that we keep our business going. But the problem is that then that can make other things fall apart. Like mentally, physically, if we work our team too hard, they'll fall apart. So hard work, even though it sounds good, could cause other things to happen. So I'm not saying we don't work hard, but if you take it to an extreme, that's actually not going to help with this problem. So we look at things like I have my three major ideas about what it is to be an entrepreneur. and then what you have to do to keep things really vibrant. So the first one, and these are I've been using these for 35 years. So because this is what I would notice. I would put in this effort, like I'd get everything really going and really organized, and then I would sit on that a bit, and it would all kind of fall apart, and to a point where it's kind of like we reach a kind of a lull, and then I would have to inject the energy of these three things back into my business. So I've kind of learned not to go into too far a low. I think there is a bit of a rhythm to it, but so the three things are, and I think you might benefit from this. When things go into that lull, like, entropy has taken over. First one is to contact somebody that you've never spoken to before. So it's sort of your classic cold call or cold email. So I'm not a big believer in this being like your sales strategy necessarily, but to reach out to somebody, not necessarily to sell them anything, just to connect with them. So like this morning, I was listening to a group chat on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is a relatively new social media platform that's basically audio. It's like radio talk show, but it's like everybody's on there talking. And there was this woman on there, and she had a very interesting conversation about sustainability. She's kind of like an expert in that, primarily talking about how to use the blockchain to promote sustainability. So she sounded really, really bright and interesting and so on. So I thought, okay, I'm going to contact her. I'm going to try to contact her. Now, she may or may not get back to me. It might be impossible to get there. But I'm going to put that effort in. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm not resting on the laurels. Like, for example, let's go back to this image here. So we have, for example, in our business, a certain amount of relationships on the left side. And we've got them all organized. Now I got all these relationships, customers and suppliers and everything. But then eventually, if you just sit on those relationships, they all kind of fall apart, right? So the only way to work against that or counteract that is to reach out to a new person to, start to create a new group of people around you as well. So that's been a thing I've been doing forever, and I get a lot of energy from that. As soon as I connect with those people, even if I don't actually, I still get a lot of energy from trying. Okay? Because once that little circle of relationships starts to fall apart, then, eventually you got very little. So this is why we have to keep injecting that sort of relationship energy into our system. Okay, so that's that one. The second one is to do something that you've never done before. Okay, so go back to this image again. All right, so once again, and this is also in your personal life too, really, but talk about business. So we have this sort of habitual habits of things we do, right? We drive to work every day the same direction, after the pandemic anyway. Where, we walk in, we have sort of a routine of our day and so on. And it kind of like, you think, oh, I got a whole system here and to live my life, run my business. But if you just stick to that one system, eventually it's going to fall apart too, because things are going to change. And one of the things that's going to fall apart actually is you're going to get bored. So where there was that a lot of energy in it, now you're just bored of doing it. That's the thing about being really organized. At a certain point, it actually gets kind of boring. So entropy is actually doing you a bit of a favor by shaking you up and, upsetting that nice little tidy system that you've got, right? So if you start doing something that you've never done before, like anything, I'm going to show you a few things that I've done lately that were totally new, never done before. And, here, I'll give you an example. Okay, so I started getting interested in non-fungible tokens because that guy sold that non-fungible token for, $60 million or something. And I thought, well, that's something to look at, right? So what I did was I just said, well, I'm just going to figure out everything I can about non-fungible tokens. And I learned a whole bunch of things, right? And I actually figured out how to make non-fungible tokens, and I put them out there. I minted a bunch of them, and now I'm selling them. And I don't know if I'm going to make $60 million. Actually, but I don't think so. But you never know. But boy, that was really, really interesting. I learned a ton just by sticking my head into there, right? And then that led me down the road of all the sort of things about cryptocurrencies and also .crypto domain names, which is a whole other interesting thing, which maybe I'll talk about in another talk. But and then I got involved with this particular blockchain, started learning about blockchains and stuff. So it's just like all of a sudden, by just doing something different, learning something different, I got a lot of energy from learning about non-fungible tokens. Like, it was really, really cool. And then I started actually meeting people, new people, and starting new kinds of conversation just because of that, right? So a lot of people say, well, what are you doing? You're going down some blind alley learning all about that stuff. But what I've learned is that you never know what you're going to learn. And suddenly it's going to open up all kinds of new doors for you that weren't there before. I'll just emphasize again, like if we go back here, you got your nice tidy little system there, right? I don't look around. I don't talk about non-fungible tokens. I don't go into that kind of thing, because that's like, what does that got to do with me? But the thing is that if you just keep thinking about the things you always think about and doing the same things, it's all going to fall apart anyway. It's all going to fall apart. So actually what I'm doing is, by going into thinking about non-fungible tokens, I'm actually putting together something new here. I'm creating an organized system now. Like, I went into sort of a understanding, okay, things are falling apart because I haven't really done anything new lately. I get into doing something different, and then I'm now creating a whole new system around that, which I will know, and I know right away, that eventually that will fall apart too. Right? So that's the second idea for dealing with entropy, is to do something different that you've never done before. So do it. Anything. It doesn't matter. Go bowling, or do origami, or just take a walk down a street you've never been down before. Get up in the middle of the night, go for a walk. Just shake it up, right? Because that's going to put energy back into your system. And then the third one is actually really important, and that is to invest in yourself or in your business. So actually plunk down money into your business, okay? So, I'm a coach, and I get people to pay me, so they'll say, well, you're just telling me that because you want me to invest in you. And I'd say, yeah, that's probably true. That would be a good one to invest in. But it doesn't have to be me. It's just like, do it. Like, just say, oh, you know what? I'm just trying to get, here we go again. You got your nice little tidy system going. You got your budget worked out. You've got it all figured out. You're not spending any extra money. You got, taken your overhead and really made it lean and everything. And then, what's going to fall apart anyway. Okay? Once again, it's going to get kind of boring, and now you've stopped investing in yourself, right? It's all going to fall apart. So the way to put energy back into the system and get it organized again is to make an investment. I don't care if it's $5 or $5 million or somewhere in the middle. You want to invest in yourself, right? So whether it's taking a course, whether it's buying some equipment, whether it's hiring somebody, this is really energizing, okay? Because for one, let's say your credit card here, a couple of grand right there for that. Well, even if it's the wrong thing, like even if you bought the wrong thing. Like one time I'll give you an example. So I decided to, I don't know if you remember this, but Apple used to have this iPad thing, but before the iPad, called the Newton, right? And it was sort of, kind of wonky, and yet it really leading edge. And I've always wanted to be not just a first adopter, but a not an early adopter, but a first adopter. That's what I've always felt I wanted to do. So that was part of my thing about doing something different, right? So I bought a Newton. I bought it. One of the few people that did, actually. And I go, okay, well, I'm just playing around with this thing. Like, it was, I can't remember how much it was, but it was hundreds of dollars, obviously. It was pretty expensive for the time. And I bought it, and I started playing around with it. And it was really cool. It had limitations, but it was really cool. And then what I did was I figured out a way to connect the Newton to my cell phone in my car. This is like going back to the 90s, right? The cell phone in my car to connect to the bulletin board system in my office, okay? And able to look up my emails on this Newton thing while in my car, not driving, but when I was parked and stuff. And I kind of hardwired that, and I learned so much from that. Like, it's like I was way ahead of the world. Like, that you could actually look at your email while you're on the road, on some kind of device, right? And probably one of the first people ever to do that in a way. And so I invested in it. I learned from it. And then of course I was able to turn around and teach people about that. So all of these things kind of work together too. Okay, so those are the three ways. Go back to our entropy thing again. Back to our picture. There we go. So let me recap here. So you get everything organized in your business, all nice and tidy and everything. Well, if you don't do anything, just kind of keep trying to make that work, it's all going to fall apart. Entropy is inexorable. It's going to make it fall apart. So you got to inject energy back into the system in order to bring it back into some kind of order. Now, the key here is that we always start up, I think, I'm going to try to get it back to the order that it was originally. Because I had this old dream, I got it all set up, this nice tidy thing, kind of like your old factory, I call it, and it started to fall apart. And you go, okay, well, I got to get it back to... So we're spending a tremendous amount of energy to try to get our old factory back to the way it was. As it keeps falling apart, we try to put our old factory back together. We're investing tons of time in that. But you know that expression, build back better? Well, it's kind of like that, right? So we want to build back better by saying, well, I'm going to put it back together. Then I'm going to make it a new factory. I'm going to make it a better business. I'm going to make it a new kind of business, perhaps. I'm going to put it together in a way that the marketplace will really reward. Now, if you read my book, New Factory Thinker, what it's going to tell you is that there's a certain way of building it so that it actually isn't as vulnerable to entropy as the old factory was. Because the old factories are really built around a product that was trying to say, we're going to make this business, we're going to sell hammers, and we're going to sell hammers forever. But of course, entropy is going to totally screw that up. But the new factory is built understanding entropy as like a constant thing. So therefore, it's built in a way around things that actually aren't susceptible to entropy, which sounds counter to what I said. But there are certain universal things that you can hold on to that actually will not fall apart. They're not subject to conditions, okay? So one of them is your attitude, okay? So first thing is the attitude. The attitude is, okay, I get entropy, I get that's happening, so therefore I can't believe that I could create a business that's just going to be static and it's not going to fall apart. I understand that. So my new factory will be built around things that are not subject to entropy. And the best one for me is your intention. Your intentions. And if you make your intentions to help people, just keep a general principle. My business is about trying to help people. And the number one thing I'm helping them with is to help them deal with change entropy, then that will never go out of date. So that's what my motto is that I'm just trying to help people deal with effectively with change, because that's the most that will always be happening. Okay, so I've created an intention that is not subject to entropy, and yet it's actually all about entropy. So I hope that's not too confusing. All right, and then we keep doing those three things. One, we keep connecting with people that we've never met before. At least we keep trying to. Okay. Secondly, we keep doing things that we've never done before. So we don't keep doing the same thing, right? So if we always play golf, that's very nice, but maybe we'll go and play a hockey or something. Go give hockey a try. Something like that, right? Just give it a shot. And then the third thing is that I know we've got this nice tidy budget and everything, but the way that we're going to really inject energy into our system is to invest hard cash in our business. And that will always motivate you. Okay? So those are the things that I can tell you about entropy right now. This is like a big aha for me. And the other thing about entropy that I've also realized is that you keep needing to inject, this is actually the bonus one, big ideas into your business. So what happens is originally your business, right? There was some big idea that helped you get it started. You had some vision for it. And it was like, wow, that's really exciting. But eventually entropy starts to work on that big idea as time goes by, and it starts to kind of dissolve it because it's an old big idea. So what we need to do is keep injecting new big ideas into our business, and we need to spend time on that. So here's a few things that I can offer you, okay? So one, and then all the links are there if you want. Like one is if you want to inject a big idea into your business, we can do a big idea outfitter. And I don't charge anything for it. And you can schedule that just by clicking on the link, and you'll have an appointment with me, and I can talk to you about your big idea. So, and don't worry about it because, I love doing it, because every time I do a big idea outfitter with somebody, I get lots of energy from it. It's really good for my entropy. The other thing I just wanted to mention was if you want to learn how to write a book, I have a course that you can download called Author. And we recorded it recently, and it was very popular. A lot of people really liked it. And basically, I just explain everything that I ever learned about publishing the books. I've written and published 11 books now, and also helped at least 50 companies and entrepreneurs put together their book in some fashion for their business, right? So if you're interested in that, that might be a way to energize things. And then the other thing is you might want to take that non-fungible token course if you're interested to know all about that. And I also talk about just the whole future of the blockchain and how it will affect you and crypto domain names and where that's all going. Though people love that workshop that we did. So you can download that one too. Okay. And then just looking ahead, I finished writing the Dancing with Robots book. You can see I've been very busy. And Dancing with Robots, and that book will be coming out later this year. But I'm going to give you a little sampler of it if you want. You can download that. Okay, so that's what we have. And just to remind you again, you can do that Big Idea Outfitter. There's no fee for it. And I would love to chat with you about your business and help inject a big idea into it so we can deal with our entropy. Okay, so that's the working effectively with business entropy. And like I say, I find this topic really fascinating because entropy is actually the underlying issue of every business. Most of it don't even know that it's actually happening. If things do fall apart, we blame ourselves, think we're doing something wrong, but this is just the way things work. And therefore, by being clear about that, then we go, okay, and then therefore I need to inject energy into the system in order to make sure things don't keep falling apart, but actually build something up better, and which I call a new factory. Okay, so hopefully that's of some interest to you. I certainly find it interesting to talk about it. I always learn a lot by just giving these talks. Okay, so good luck with your business, and I look forward to our next big idea talk. Thank you.